I'd like for you to clarify. I've heard a lot of comments about sidewalks and about us making them build sidewalks, and I'd like for you to clarify that.
We had a community workshop back in May where we published notice that there is a community workshop going on so we could draft the standards. You know, a letter did not go out to every single property owner within the proposed area because the area was still being proposed. We didn't have a proposed area. But we did publish a community workshop to have everyone come out. We probably had about 40 people, and we had about 40 people in attendance. And we talked about sidewalks and whether, because one of the big things is people wanted sidewalks. They wanted sidewalks in the community, sidewalks. Well, it boils down to how are the sidewalks going to be funded? Are they going to be funded by the developer of the property, or are they going to be funded by city government? What the decision we came to was, because originally we were going to have sidewalks in there as a requirement. They're not in there as a requirement for Highway 67, 144, no sidewalks. And generally along the Biloxi, there's no sidewalks. The only time a sidewalk would be required is if the building is pulled up to the street within, or right of way, I should say, within 0 to 10 feet. You have to provide a sidewalk between the building and the right of way, similar to what we have downtown. So that's the only time a sidewalk would be required by the overlay zoning districts.
Anybody else? Okay, William?
Betty, I didn't know for sure if Louis got his answer a while ago on the abandoned buildings, the time-wise, the time length there, whatnot. I want to make note. I think that that's really not a part of this that needs to be in there. Abandoned building for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or even 18 months. I would think that 6 months special is not good. I don't think that needs to be in there. I mean, if you had an illness or if you just wanted to close and cure the world or something, Luis has got the money to do it, and I know, so I don't think we need these imposed.
And we're not changing anything with the non-conforming uses or the 60 days. That's all in the ordinance. That's all in your existing zoning ordinance. Has been in there for years.
We don't address that at all.
We're not changing any of that. Now, what I sent to Peggy is I told her your non-conforming use section, it's an older section, it's not very clear about, because we've had all these questions, if I sit vacant for a while, am I allowed, if I'm a non-conforming use in a conforming building, if I'm a non-conforming building but have a conforming use, what are all these situations? It's not clear in your current zoning ordinance. But what we sent them is something that I sent it to Peggy and I said, hey, you may want to sit down with the council and this is something you may want to clear up in your zoning ordinance, and we gave them a sample of something they could start with that basically breaks it down to you either have a non-conforming lot, or you have a non-conforming use, or you have a non-conforming structure, and this is pretty much how you handle it. And the one that we sent her is, if you had a non-conforming building, you could expand by 10% still. If you had a non-conforming use, but the building was conforming, your non-conforming use could take up the whole building if it was basically partitioned out yet with the tenants. Your non-conforming use could take up the whole building, but just as long as you're not expanding the use outside the building. So we sent them a sample because there's questions that you just have to, similar to what we're doing here, you just have to sit down and talk about the different scenarios and once again, I talk about the bar, where do you want to set the bar? So, but that's something for the
will y'all change any of that, or who changes any of that?
No, we don't change any of that. It just operates how it's operated for however long since you've had your zoning.
Because I know some buildings even right here in downtown that's been vacant for years.
And that's one of the issues that you run into with older zoning ordinances and the enforcement of it.
So if I understand it right, if you have, like Luis or myself, the business that we have, and we close for more than 90 days? 60. 60 days?
Yes, sir.
Then that building could no longer be there? I mean, the business would no longer be there, no longer be allowed?
Yes, the use wouldn't be allowed to come back. It'd have to be a conforming use.
in the building would have to be in compliance
Bring up to
code.
performance.
So anything that sits over 90 days,
60.
60 days, you're gonna have to spend a ton of money on it. That it's a non-conforming building to bring it up to meet compliance.
But that's the way it's always been. We did. Like I said, we're not changing.
Well, y'all brought something out of the closet here that was hid.
And apparently not enforced.
Yeah. For stepping on anyone's toes, I mean, it's an enforcement issue. And do you have enough? I mean, the city has a lot of codes, and the city has limited resources and staff. But so how is the enforcement broken down? You have similar to code enforcement. You know, you drive through the neighborhoods. There's lots of code violations that are going on, whether it's people keeping outside storage in their yards or things that shouldn't be allowed. But is it based on code complaint? You know, because generally code enforcement only comes out once someone complains, hey, my neighbor has, you know, their furniture is set out on the yard for 2 months now, and that's basically how the code complaint system works. So similar, it goes down how the city enforces it, and sometimes the codes are enforced like that.
You can't sell your own car now with a for sale sign in the window. Put it in there and Bill give you a ticket. That's the code. I bought 100 for sale signs. I'm gonna hand them out to 100 cars. We're not gonna sell cars. It's gonna be something else they're selling. But Bill's got to give us a ticket. He said I'm overloading, but that's a code. You gotta study the codes here. A lot of people right. We need to fix what's wrong.
Is there any way we can get rid of all those ugly people down in Big Rock?
Or just rules about how many cars
Never heard that one before, did
And I'll also think of it as the same as your traffic laws. I mean, think about it every time someone speeds. I mean, it's not enforced. So every time we broke the speed limit, a lot of us would have a lot of tickets to pay. So when it boils down to enforcement, sometimes it's just not a black and white issue. It's a resource generally issues.